welcome. This is 6.1, switching between forms. So this is a review from what we did in Unit 5. If you need to find or need to learn more about switching forms, just please refer to the Unit 5 videos. Okay, so I'll do a couple really quick, but the rest, again, just use the videos that we already have. Okay, so switching forms. There's 3 forms for quadratics. There's standard form, intercept form, and vertex form. If you want to go from standard form to intercept form, you'll need to factor. In class we talk about, when I call it is glasses, so you multiply the first and last terms. So we have a nice set of glasses, okay? And then we need to find 2 things that multiply to give us that and add up to give us the middle term, bx, okay? That will give us to intercept form. If you need to go back, you're going to need to distribute, aka foiling or using the box method. If you need to go from standard to vertex, you need to complete this square, and we'll do an example of that. And if you need to go back to standard form, then you distribute. Okay? So these problems will be like what's on the homework. You need to, it says, given the following equations, identify which form, or identify what form is given, then write it in the other 2 forms. So in this example for A, that would be standard, and we need to write it in the other 2 forms. So we could start with vertex. So vertex, the first thing that I do is we set y equal to 0. I usually have it on the other side, just because that's the way we had it set up when we solved for quadratics. Either way, you're fine. Okay. Next step is we would want to subtract 3 from both sides so that we can leave a spot to complete the square. So that gives us x squared minus 4x is equal to -3. And then to complete the square, sometimes we talk about c that completes the square. It's always negative b over, sorry, that's the wrong one. It's b over 2 squared. So in this situation, it'd be -4 over 2 squared, which is 4. So we'd need to add 4 to both sides to keep it balanced. Okay. The right side, that's fairly easy. That's just 1. The left side, in the past we've always talked about how we can write it as a binomial squared. And what's inside here is always x, or whatever variable we're using, and it will be half of what b is. Okay? It's always that way with perfect squares, which is we just forced it to be a perfect square. If you don't believe me, you can always factor, and you'd end up getting x minus 2 times x minus 2, which is x minus 2 squared. Okay? So either way, you'll get to the same answer. Okay? Next, what we need to do is subtract 1 back to the other side. And then we'd have x minus 2 squared minus 1. And that would be x equals 0. But in the very beginning, we set y equal to 0. So we'll just put it back, and we'll have our equation in vertex form. Okay? The other form that we did standard. Now we have vertex. We need intercept. So intercept is where you multiply the first and last term. So 3x squared. Okay, we multiply those 2. And then we need to find 2 things that will multiply to give us 3x squared and add to give us the middle term. So to make that work, you may need to think about it for a sec. That's okay. We want to come up with -1x and a -3x. Because if you multiply those together, that gives us positive 3x squared. And if you add them, that gives us -6x. Since a is positive, or a is 1, sorry, since a is 1, the leading coefficient is 1, we can use what we call was the shortcut in the last unit. So that would leave us with x minus 1 and x minus 3. Okay, and if you need more examples of this, please, again, refer to the previous videos. Okay? All right, so that's switching from standard to the other two forms. Okay? Let's do an example like B, where we don't have a constant. Okay? So this is standard. If we want to have it in intercept form, we need to follow the same steps that we've done in the past. So the first thing is to make sure it's in standard form, which it is. Highest exponents down to the smallest, and then the constants last. Okay, next, see if there's a greatest common factor. And here there is. We'd want to factor that out. We'd end up getting x times x minus 4. And if you can factor out an x, then we don't need to do glasses. So this would already be intercept. Okay? And then the last thing is we would need to go from standard to vertex. Okay, so again, we set it equal to 0. Okay, and then we move the constant over. Well, we don't have the constant, so we'll just leave it open. Now we'll complete the square, and it's exactly the same as what we did before. Here, it turns out to be plus 4 to both sides. We can write this as a binomial squared, x minus 2, that's the same. Only the thing that's different is this part where we get 4 instead of, what was it, 1? Okay? And then we're going to subtract that back to the other side. I'll get x minus 2 squared minus 4. And then we're just going to put our y back. Usually we write y in the front, so that's why I put it over there. Okay, so that's our vertex form. All right, just want to do one of these. D, maybe we'll do D. Okay, we already know how to go from standard to intercept, but we haven't done one where we go from vertex to standard. So here, let's talk about that. Look at the flow chart. To get to standard, we distribute. So just remember, if we have an exponent, what we're really doing is we're multiplying its base, which here would be x minus 1. So we're going to multiply x minus 1 by itself 2 times, as so. Okay? And then we'd want to FOIL. We still have our negative, so we'll have x squared negative x, or negative 1x, either way. Negative x again, and then negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. Okay. All right, next we'd want to distribute that negative, so negative x squared plus x minus 1, and then we'd have that plus 3 again. Combine like terms, those are like terms, those are like terms. So we get y equals negative x squared plus 2x plus 2. That would be your answer in standard form, okay? And then we also, I don't think we did one of these going from intercept form to standard, but this is even easier, okay? It's already written as 2 parentheses, and we're just going to distribute. So x squared plus 3x minus x and minus 3. Combine like terms. X squared minus or plus 2x minus 3. Okay, and then from there you'd need to put it in vertex form. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you need more examples again, sound like a broken record, please go to the previous videos. Okay, last thing we did in class was to graph using our graphing calculators. I tried to do it. I thought it would be a good idea to like switch my iPad into just a camera and then being able to use that as like a document cam. But when I did that, it just turned off this, whatever it's called, screen or window capture or whatever. So it didn't work, and we're just gonna try and do it. You won't be able to see what I'm clicking on, but I'll explain it to you, okay? So we're gonna try and do this problem, 3A, and we're gonna also do 3B. Please have your notes out so that you can write stuff. I won't be able to show you while I write things down. Okay, so I'm gonna try and do this really quick. Be patient with me. And actually, I'm gonna make another video, so watch out for that, okay?